we will be looking at creating an assignment within Moodle. If you plan to create an assignment that involves student or staff groups, you will need to create the groups first before creating the assignment. This will be covered in another video. The first step I need to do is turn editing on, and then navigate to the section of the course that I wish to add the assignment. I select Add an Activity or Resource and click, and select Assignment from the top menu and click Add. I'm then presented with the details I need to fill out about the assignment. The minimum I have to do is complete a name, a description and a submission date, and then click Save, but we will cover all the options. The submission date from allows you to set when the submission is available from. This is when the students will be able to add submissions. The due date is when the submission is required to be submitted. The cutoff date remains unselected, as this will stop students submitting. My next option in the submission is to select what type of files the student is allowed to submit. By default, file submission and online text are selected. File submission means that students are allowed to upload a file, and online text means that they're allowed to input text in the submission window. If I want the students to upload a media file, then I have to select media submission. This means the student can submit up to 2 GB. I can select how many files they're allowed to upload, and I can select the maximum file size. If I'm using Turnitin, the maximum file size that Turnitin will accept is 40 MB. So to be safe, only allow them 20 MB. Section, we'll be looking at feedback types. By default, feedback files and offline grading worksheet are selected as the enabled feedback types, as they are recommended options. The feedback files option allows markers to upload documents to the students as feedback. For example, annotate submissions. The offline grading worksheet provides markers with a spreadsheet which they can download and complete offline. This can then be uploaded with the grades, and these will automatically be added to Moodle. In the next setting, the submission settings, the defaults have been locked, so there's no need to worry about that. Following that is the group submission settings. You will need to have set up groups prior to creating the assignment. I select from the option that yes, I want to use groups, and from the grouping options I will have a list of all the groups that I have created, and I select that group. Settings will determine when you are notified about a submission. You have the option of being notified every time a submission is submitted. By default, this is set at no. You also have the option to be notified about late submissions. This is recommended that is set to yes. So you would only receive email notifications when you get late submissions. Look at Turnitin originality checking. To use Turnitin, I must enable it from the menu. The section option states whether or not the student will see a report of their own assignment when they submit it. These reports are generated immediately. Students are allowed to submit files as many times they like until the submission deadline. Turnitin will only generate a report once every 24 hours for each subsequent submission. Allowing any file types means that students can submit any file. Only text-based files will be analysed by Turnitin. Here we select whether or not the student work is stored in a repository. Storing the student work in a repository means that in subsequent years or at different universities, this work can be checked against other works. You can select whether or not the work submitted is being checked against a repository of student work that's been previously submitted. Default options, check against internet should remain yes, and check against journal articles remain yes. You have the option of excluding bibliography and excluding quoted materials and excluding no matches. Anonymous marking means that all the reports remain anonymous. Grading. Choose the maximum grade for each assignment in the grade field. You can also select no grade for formative work, or set up scales in advance if you would like to use a non-numeric system. For most assignments, simple direct grading is the best grading method to choose. This allows a marker to type in the grade into Moodle for the assignment. You can choose marking guide or rubric to automatically mark assignments. This requires tutors to set up criteria and levels beforehand for each of the work. Grade categorization can be ignored. Blind marking is set by default to yes. The university policy says that anonymous marking is the default unless for special circumstances. Module settings. Tutors can automatically link assignments to Student Record System, Unit E, if they wish the grades to be entered in Moodle to automatically be transferred to Unit E. To do this, choose the correct Unit E element from Linked Unit E, assignment or activity only. The grades will transfer 24 hours after they've been released on Moodle. If you're using groups to define marking allocation, you will need to set group mode in the field either visible groups or separate groups. This will add the filter to the grading table. If you're using groups to define marking allocation, you will need to set grouping to the correct set of groups where you have previously defined your marking allocation. Do this in the grouping field. Once all these options have been completed, click Save and return to course.